पुष्पाणि दुःखं फलं नानाकर्म समुद्भवं बहुविधं भोक्तात्र जीव खगः. There is a beautiful simile given here, which is given in Vivek Chudamani, and that says that the avidya or ignorance is described as the seed of the tree of samsara or the endless rounds of birth and death. So this ignorance is the seed of the tree because of which this tree has come out. Identification with the body is the sprout. Our work is the sap. Our desire are its tender leaves. The physical body is the trunk. The pranas are its branches. The sense organs are its twigs. The sense objects are the flowers. The different sorrows born from the multitude of actions are the fruits. And the individual jiva is the bird perched on its branches. This particular vision, the bird perched on the branch, is also there in Mundaka Upanishad, which we are taking this coming weekend. Dvau Suparna. So two birds, both looking at each other. But here, only one is told. And that one is the, the jiva. There the two are given, both are complete. For some reason, why? Self-forgetfulness, one bird starts looking at the fruit of the trees. Thinks, how will this fruit be tasted? The moment it moves its attention away from its partner's eyes. Who is the partner? As long as they are looking at each other, they are totally happy, totally contented. No urge for anything. But the moment it moves the eyes away, immediately an urge arises. Let me peck that fruit and let me see how it tastes. Maybe because the fruits are hanging, so there must be a reason for them to hang. Maybe they are meant for me to eat. And that's the jiva. And after eating the fruit, then it continues to fly from one tree to the other, only to find out, then while it is flying, again it goes to another tree. Maybe one teacher comes, satsang starts, and then he comes back to the same tree, keep looking at himself. This is what we are doing. The tiny sprout, which is the cause of the world, is Aham Brahma Sfarana, that is Brahman becoming aware of its own self. This in itself is called Maya, but this Maya is not other than Brahman. Why Maya is not other than Brahman? Because Vedanta does not say Maya is an illusion. Why is Maya not other than Brahman?
It's part of Brahman.
Okay, what else? Why is Maya not other than Brahman?
Brahman's everything.
Because Brahman is everything. If you imagine something in it, it has, without Brahman it cannot express. Isn't it? Without, there is no sunrise, and yet sunrise is happening. There is no mirage, yet mirage is happening. There is no waves, yet wave is happening. The substratum has to be there in order for whatever the effect is taking place, or whatever imagination you have imposed upon it. So here when it says that this itself is called Maya, but this Maya is not other than Brahman. Therefore, although the world is born out of Maya, it has no existence other than Brahman, just as the snake in the rope has got no existence other than the rope. Similarly, this whole world has got no existence other than Brahman. Similarly, this individual has got no existence other than the Brahman, the self. Understand this. I keep saying it again and again, that we nod, but we have understood. But you have to spend time right now, not tomorrow, not yesterday, right now. What is the impact of that statement? And you don't have to think of the impact of the statement through words. If you heard last Upanishad, Prashna Upanishad, in that the technique was told, you have to intuit it. You have to, the ears are listening to the word, but the mind is not lost in analyzing the words. Mind is intuiting what the words are indicating, isn't it? That has to happen. So, Brahman is as it were hidden in the names and forms, but other than Satchidananda, nothing ever really is in the world of plurality. This is expressed by the term Vishnu. Vishnu means all pervasive. And what is all pervasive? All pervasive is our intrinsic self, and that is the truth that permeates the tree of samsara. This has to be thought of again and again, again and again, again and again. You can't find the self thinking about it objectively. You cannot find the self thinking about it objectively. We are using the words. But those words are only a vehicle, so that your intuitive mind is able to ride on those words and reach the destination called the self. So in this first verse, the teacher is saying that the Vedantic technique of superimposition and desuperimposition, this has been introduced, and without knowledge of both the absolute as well as the conditioned Brahman, Brahma Jnana cannot be considered complete. And that is the beauty of our Vedanta. What is that? That first we do the sadhana, I am not this, I am not this, I am not this, I am not this, and we come to know the essential nature. But then you have to understand that this essential nature that I have recognized without words to be, myself to be, is that which is expressing in and through everything. In fact, it is the only thing that there is. And on that, this whole Jagad Ankura Hetave, this whole creation, including all the beings, are as if appearing. And for this, the example is the most beautiful example, and that is your dream. All the characters in the dream, all the personalities in the dream, all the situations, all the water, space, air, fire, water, earth, everything is because of you in the mind only, isn't it? The teacher salutes first Brahman, which possesses attributes of samsara adhisthana, that is the substratum of world of plurality, and the Brahman, which is without attributes, is indicated by Satchidananda, etc. The salutation is conceived of as an act of surrender to the divine. In the technical language of Vedanta, the salutation is not distinct from the realization of the identity between the self and Brahman, the Chaitanya Swarupa, or the individual and the Adhisthana Swarupa or Brahman. Adhisthana means what? Your what do you call Adhisthana?